Now I'm going to level with you all straight off the bat. I initially didn't want to make this video or talk about this topic at all because I feel like I'm just coming across like a proper little whinge bag, having a moan at you guys about something that, well, none of us really care about. But then I started looking at the data and something really shocking came out of it all. The scale of the problem here in the UK for our roads is much bigger than I first realised. And when we look at how often our roads are being resurfaced versus how often they should be resurfaced, along with how much money it's actually going to cost to put our roads back to a good or ideal standard, you start to see a really terrifying picture emerging. And it raises the really interesting question of, well, are the UK roads actually fit for motorcyclists anymore? So let's get into it and talk about potholes. Let me paint a picture for you. As motorcyclists, we all know potholes can be genuinely dangerous hazards in the road. If we hit them, unlike car drivers and van drivers, we risk a little bit more than just suspension damage and a flat tyre. So let's start by talking about the scale of the issue and back it up with a little bit of research. Potholes aren't just a few rough roads here and there. I found a story over on the absolutely riveting website Transport and Energy, who are publishing data from the Asphalt Industry Alliance. And I'll drop a link to that in the description below so you guys can go have a read of it if you want something to help you sleep at night. But I'll give you the headline figures now. The headlines from that report stated that there's a backlog of road repairs currently across England and Wales, and to get it to a good standard, it's going to cost £17 billion. That's how much it would cost to bring the road network back up to a good condition, or in their terminology, an ideal condition. Now, £17 billion is such a huge number, it's hard to visualise. But fortunately, through the power of video editing, I can now show you on screen what that number looks like. This is £17,000. This is 17 million. And this is 17 billion. It's an absolutely staggering amount of money. But here's where that stat really puts things into perspective, because on average, local roads in the UK are resurfaced once every 93 years. 93 years. Which means the roads that you're riding on today or driving around on may not have had a full resurface since sometime around 1930. And that's despite the fact that, well, many modern roads are typically designed to have a structural lifespan of around 20 to 40 years, depending on the traffic and the construction and material the road's made out of. So straight away, you can start seeing a problem. Roads are designed to last decades, but they're resurfaced once every century. More than half the road network here in the UK, 52% according to the report, and that's roughly around 106,000 miles of network here in the UK, has around 15 years left of its structural lifespan. And almost a third of that number, so that's some 35,000 miles of UK and Welsh roads, has only up to 5 years left of its kind of intended usage. And that gap in the maintenance is where these potholes and these issues start to appear. But what is it that's actually causing the potholes then? Because the roads don't just suddenly disappear. Well, that is the freeze-thaw cycle that's causing it. And this is where water is seeping into cracks and gaps in the top of the road surface. And when that water freezes, when the temperatures drop below zero here in the UK, which happens quite a lot, that water then freezes solid. When water freezes, it expands. So when that water's expanding, it's got nowhere to go, and what it's doing is lifting the road surface. It's widening the cracks and basically lifting the surface away from its subbase. And when the temperatures rise again, that water melts back into, that ice melts back into water, and it leaves a void under the road surface, which is now weaker. And eventually, when traffic passes over that weakened surface, it collapses, and all that kind of rubble and stone gets kicked out of it, and hey presto, we now have a pothole. Which is why they appear much faster around winter and springtime, this time of year basically, and why they're becoming such a hot topic, should we say, at this time of year. Now here's something exciting for us all to try. YouTube has recently introduced a quiz feature in the videos, and I really thought I wanted to try it, and I feel like this is the perfect place to use it. So let's see if any of you have been paying attention this far into the video. Here is my question. On average, how often are UK local roads resurfaced? Is it A, every 25 years? Is it B, every 43 years? Or is it C, every 93 years? You can take part in the quiz below by using the app and the web browser. So go get involved and let's see how many of you are actually paying attention. And I think it's safe to assume at this point of the video, where a few of you might be jumping into the comments section to join me in this rather hot topic and have a bit of a rant and ask questions like, Why do we even need yearly MOTs if they can't give us safe roads to ride on? And why do we even pay our road taxes for if they can't maintain the roads? And to that, I would firstly go full nerd and say to you, we don't actually pay road tax anymore. We haven't done since 1937. It was replaced by VED, which is Vehicle Excise Duty. And this change broke the direct link between vehicle tax and building roads. So your vehicle tax can now go towards all sorts of other things like, I don't know, MPs' expenses and their second homes and their 5% pay rises. But then I'd go all serious. And second of all, I'd say to you, well, let's look at the government data and see what's actually happening to try and keep this discussion balanced. And when I took a look at that data, it transpired that the roads are actually being maintained, apparently. In fact, over the past decade, the highways team across the UK and Wales have filled an average of, 1.9 million potholes each year. So this equates to roughly one pothole every 18 seconds. And that's this many since the start of the video. But most of these repairs are patch repairs, not full resurfacing work, which means they fix the immediate hole, they bandage it up and plaster it up, but the surrounding road structure might still be deteriorating. So now new potholes appear in different locations, and sometimes they're just meters away from the original one. And even sometimes they appear in the exact same spot when that filling material they've used separates with the road surface and gets kicked out by the passing traffic all over again. Now, another interesting statistic that comes up when you start looking at this government data set was the analysis carried out by the RAC of that same data pot. They found that the number of miles of road resurfacing in England fell by nearly 30% over a 5-year period. And the use of surface dressing, which is that horrible gravelly stuff they stick down over a layer of bitumen that's designed to prevent having to resurface a road, and it's designed to extend the road's life, which is, by the way, horrifically unsafe for motorcyclists and cyclists alike. Well, the use of that also dropped by around 34% in the same period. In fact, some road authorities carried out exactly 0 road resurfacing work in any given year from that data pot. Now again, this isn't about blaming anyone and pointing fingers, so let's all keep our cool. And remember, maintaining hundreds of thousands of miles of roads is incredibly expensive and complicated. But the reality is, our road network and infrastructure is aging. And an aging infrastructure means more defects in our road surface. So when you step back and look at all this data, you've got the repair backlog of £17 billion. You have the aging infrastructure that I've just mentioned, and the lack thereof of a regular resurfacing cycle. It raises a really interesting question. And again, this isn't a political one, but it's a rather practical one. How do we, as motorcyclists and road users, manage that risk as riders? Well, we go back to the basics and we remember our rider training, don't we? We scan further ahead up the road. We look for colour changes in the road surface because a darker surface could indicate a multitude of different things. It could be a slick new road surface. It could be a wet road surface. It could be an oil spill or a fuel spill. We want to watch out for things like water pooling at the edges of the roads, because they can often hide things like, as we've been talking about, potholes or crumbly road surfaces. It could have other objects under that surface that could take us off our bikes. And we want to be avoiding target fixation where possible. When you spot a pothole, if you stare directly at it, often the case, you're going to end up driving straight into it. So you want to be focusing on the line you want to ride rather than spotting something as a hazard and fixating directly on it. But even with all that said, some of the most advanced riders and those of us with the most experience will sometimes come completely unstuck and find ourselves hitting the odd pothole. And best case scenario, you're going to get out of that completely unscathed. Worst case, you're going to be coming off the bike and a puncture is the last of your worries. But somewhere in the middle of all that, there is a flat tyre and you stranded at the side of the road. So that's why I want to introduce you to this. This is the motorcycle tyre sealant from the guys at True Tension. The idea is simple. If a small puncture happens, the sealant inside the tyre helps plug the hole long enough to keep you moving safely. Now, obviously, no sealant is going to save you from a massive pothole impact that rips a hole in the sidewall of your tyre. But for smaller punctures caused by debris, detritus on the road, the edge of a pothole, it can be the difference between you getting home safely or being stranded at the side of the road for hours. I'll leave you more information about the product in the description below, and if you want to go check it out, then go find out about it. And remember, if you do buy any products from the guys at True Tension, I'll make a little bit of commission for the sale. They'll pay me that difference. You will not be paying a single penny more than the regular asking price. You'll get 20% off by using the code I'm displaying on the screen right now from any sale items. So go check them out. And if you do buy anything, well, thank you from myself, because it really does support my channel and allows me to keep making this free to view content. Now, potholes might seem like a minor annoyance to many of you, but when you look at the scale of the issue across the UK road network, they're actually part of a much bigger infrastructure challenge. If you've ever had a close call with a pothole on your bike, then please do let me know in the comments below. I am genuinely curious to know how many of you actually think this is a real issue and how many of you have been impacted by it directly, or whether or not I'm just being another Karen shouting into the void about something that we should just all get on with. And if you found this video interesting or entertaining in the slightest, then maybe you want to go check out last week's video, which you can see up here, where I discuss motorcycle insurance here in the UK. And remember, if you're new to my channel or a returning viewer and haven't done so already, you can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my face over here. Ride safe, and hopefully I get to see you all next week in next week's video.